You've been wanting to cover this issue of the increase in, shall we say, violence in politics. Not sure whether violence is quite the right word, for quite a number of weeks now, but it's kind of come to a head this week, David, because you were running a couple of events to promote with Gilad Atzmon. And the event in Edinburgh, day before yesterday, was it? Didn't quite go to plan. I've just got a few seconds of Gilad's video report of this, so we'll play that, and then perhaps you could comment on it. Sorry.
These two innocent looking kids actually attacked me yesterday in Edinburgh. They were joined by a third guy. You can probably see his footage from the back. I'm happy to tell you that I'm totally okay. I survived an attack by the antifa. Yet I have a lot of questions to ask.
So Gilad has a lot of questions to ask. We have a lot of questions to ask. First of all, what was the nature of the attack, and just tell us a little bit about the people that were involved.
Well, there was three people. Two of them came up. We were standing outside the bookshop, which is called Lighthouse, which is bills itself as a radical bookshop, and we had been originally planning to do the talk in there, but we were banned from that on the account that we were too radical. And it's quite difficult to pin down what the reasons are, but Gilad was too controversial, or his views were somehow too challenging. And then it became hate speech, and then it became all sorts of things. So that clearly people were putting in some sort of complaint or some sort of campaign to the owner of this bookshop, who was folding like a pack of cards. The blog post cancelling the event put up by the bookshop, very strangely suggested that people should be joining Edinburgh Antifa, which is of course a street violence movement, and that seemed for a bookshop which advertises itself as supporting ideas and the exchange of fresh ideas and new thinking, seemed a very strange position. So we met outside the bookshop. These two lads came up and they seemed to be coming along to the event, so we directed most of the audience down to the alternative venue, and we hung around to see if anyone else would turn up, not knowing about the change of venue, so we could direct them. We were walking down towards the new venue, which was only a few hundred yards away, and most of us were carrying equipment, carrying books, this sort of thing, and then all of a sudden things turned violent. One of the chaps started yelling obscenities, and the other two seemed to make some sort of attempt to steal equipment. One punched Gilad in the head from behind, and they tried to wrestle bags of books and his saxophone, etc., away from him. And one of the other people carrying the equipment down was also attacked. And then very, very quickly, I mean, within a few seconds, they then ran off down the street. So it was all over quite quickly. Fortunately, no one was seriously hurt. But what it is an attempt using violence to silence opinion that these people think is not just something they disagree with, but something that should be forcibly suppressed by violent means. And anybody who holds these views, and remember, we're talking about views such as history should be open for re-examination in a scholarly fashion. We're talking about we should be able to debate with one another and exchange ideas and test ideas in an open manner without intimidation. These are the sort of ideas they're trying to silence. If you hold these ideas, if you hold the ideas that used to be the defining characteristic of Western culture, then you are now a target for street violence.
Any thoughts?
No, it's interesting. It's ironic that the anti-fascist movement, or Antifa as it's called, are some of the biggest street fascists around these days. Well, it's not ironic. It's predictable if you actually follow their exploits. So who's behind these groups, Mike? Who's pulling the strings of these kids? Who's pushing them out there? Which political people are behind the scenes using them?
David, sorry, David.
These are, of course, the issues that Gilad is talking about in his new book. His new book, which is called Being in Time, and we'll do a bit of advertising here, Being in Time, a Post-Political Manifesto, right, talks about where the current dystopian political situation has come from. It talks about many, many things that have happened over the past 50 to 100 years, about movements and ideas that have taken over the West and taken over particularly academia. And it talks about the harm that these ideas are doing and the dystopia that they generate. So it's understandable why these people would want to silence Gilad Atzmon. It's less understandable why so many people seem so easily fooled into buying this postmodern view of the world in which there is no right and wrong, nothing matters, and violence for ideological ends is viewed as a good thing.
Well, you've written about this. The headline is Evil Stirs. It's not published yet on the UK Column website. I think we have about half a dozen typos to fix. And because, we don't want to be accused of being a fake news site, Patrick, because one of the signs of fake news sites is that you've got typos in your articles. The Daily Mail should take note of that, I think.
In all caps in your
in your headlines.
Yeah.
But that will be published within about 10 minutes of this program being finished. So just briefly, David, on that one.
Well, it looks at briefly what happened, because there was events in Newcastle as well of a similar, not violent, but certainly aggressive nature. And it covers, it includes 2 embedded videos from Gilad Atzmon, which describe the events as he sees them, and a commentary from me looking at what's been going on here and the importance of standing with people like Gilad Atzmon, who are prepared to stand up and ask questions and refine the questions and insist upon living in a society where that remains possible.
And this sort of threats and violence seem to be appearing in the mainstream politics as well in Scotland. So you're not welcome. Sturgeon challenged over threats made by SNP activists to Tories. And is this the SNP activist that we're talking about here?
This is the SNP activist concerned. Yes, this was in the former mining town of Cowie. The mine's been closed for many years. It does have a large industrial plant on that site. And what happened was this lady was going along in her van and spotted the Tory canvassers and decided to harass them from her moving vehicle, shouting, amongst other things, to go back to England or leave the country because you're not welcome. So these are Scots with different opinions. So if you have the wrong opinions in Scotland, you're told to leave. It's something that most of us who have held up the flag of liberty in some fashion or other in social media are quite familiar with. You're told at some point to leave the country. But of course, it's our country, and why should we go anywhere? This is the sort of intolerance that's becoming very much characteristic of the left at the moment in Scottish politics. It's very unpleasant. And this woman's felt confident enough in this behaviour to stream it live from her moving vehicle. And I understand that Police Scotland have sent a report to the Procurator Fiscal, and the report is going to involve charges of both breach of the peace, which in Scotland, remember, is causing fear and alarm, and also a road traffic offence, as it all happened from a moving vehicle.
And this is being called the Battle of Bannockburn.
Well, this was the headline, but it was in or near the Bannockburn constituency. But it's a point that we've made several times in articles in the column, that Scottish nationalism is not nationalism. These are people abusing and encouraging telling other Scots to leave the country. There's nothing nationalist about it. What it is the new left, the extreme left. Just the same sort of ideas that motivate Antifa in maybe a slightly less openly aggressive manner, but only marginally. It's internationalist. It's not nationalist. And it's extremely intolerant of other ideas. And the test here is not what nationality are you. The test here is an even more insidious one. It's just how do you think? And if you answer that one wrongly, you're in trouble.
Thank you for that. So we're just going to end on this one then, because I thought this was quite appropriate under the circumstances. Why is Britain